Hello friends, it's me, Shin, and today I'm coming to you from the south side of the Las Vegas Valley where I'm checking out Kobashi. Super happy to have you along. I'll see you inside. All right everyone, and here we are seated at Kobashi Ramen and Curry. Now this is a little Japanese eatery in the Silverton village, right across the way from the Silverton Casino, just a handful of miles south of the Las Vegas Strip. Now I happen to play at the Silverton pretty often, and on my way home the other day I just happened to scope this place out and thought it would make for an interesting video, and so I'm here to see how it is. Let's take a look at the menu. Alrighty, so here is your menu at Kobashi. Starting with the appetizers, you've got your standards like gyoza, takoyaki, chicken karaage, popcorn shrimp, agedashi tofu. This all looks really good. Couple of tempura options down here. Looks like you got your shrimp and vegetable, the standard, some Brussels sprout, as well as a stuffed jalapeno bomb. That sounds interesting. And then here we have the ramen list. You've got your classic tonkatsu and shoyu and miso ramen here. A creamy and vegetarian ramen as well. Here are your special ramens, your tomato seafood, black garlic, curry, and chicken. Here's some toppings for your ramen. You've got corn, green onion, bean sprouts, bamboo shoots, a lot of the standard stuff here. And then if you look over here for the combinations, you can do a, looks like a ramen or curry with a salad along with one of these appetizers here. And if I flip over the menu, we'll take a look on the other side. This is where we can see the curry. So, why is there some glare here now? Okay, here we go. Curry, we've got the pork katsu, chicken katsu, beef stew. Yeah, that looks very good. You have your fried rice options down here. Ooh, kimchi fried rice sounds really good today. Here is your original curry. And all of your curry toppings. You also have sushi rolls here. That looks pretty good. And then some drinks here as well, your cold sake, as well as your beer and hot sake. They have fountain beverages, looks like they're Pepsi and not Coke, as well as some canned drinks. These are some beverages out of Japan, like Calpico. Yeah, it looks really good. And that's your menu here at Kobashi. A lot of good-looking Japanese items on that menu, and I'm looking forward to trying a lot today here at Kobashi because you know how it goes in my videos. Every restaurant is a buffet if you're willing to pay. So I'm gonna get a nice variety, and together we'll see what this place is all about. Appetizers are coming up first. I'll see you in a little bit when they arrive. And welcome back everyone. My appetizers just got here. This is looking really good. Let me give you a view. I got the popcorn shrimp as well as their chicken karaage, some agedashi tofu, their gyoza, and that jalapeno bomb. I'm definitely ready to go in on some Japanese food. Let's give it a try. First up, agedashi tofu. Actually been a while since I've had an agedashi tofu, and this feels great on my chopsticks. The agedashi tofu. Yes, that's good. A really nice tofu dish here. Now this has been shallow fried with an additional cornstarch exterior, giving it a very crispy texture. A nice satisfying crunch biting into these. A nice medium firm texture to that tofu, and while not imparting a lot of flavor, it's been able to soak up the agedashi sauce very well. You can think of agedashi as basically mirin, dashi, as well as some soy sauce. I believe those are the three primary ingredients, because that's exactly what this tastes like. A little bit of sweetness from that mirin and some umami from the soy, providing some very nice flavors for this tofu. That's a perfectly fine, enjoyable tofu dish. Next up, we'll do the gyoza. A staple in Japanese appetizers, the fried dumpling. We'll give it a little dip into the soy sauce. Let's see how it is. Not bad. Now this is very obviously a store-bought gyoza. The texture of the wonton skin definitely leaves a bit to be desired here. It is a bit gummy, although where they gave it the pan fry, it actually does have a nice little crisp. And you have a very standard pork and cabbage filling in here, relatively well seasoned, and you certainly get some additional salinity as well as umami from the soy sauce. This is about what you would expect for a store-bought gyoza here. Next up, the chicken karaage. Another classic Japanese appetizer dish here. Chicken karaage is Japanese fried chicken, and this looks homemade. We'll give it a little dip into the accompanying sauce, and let's give this a taste. Oh yeah, that's tasty. Now I'm pretty sure that this was made in-house. You can tell by the breading that this hasn't been frozen. You can kind of see here, it's not exactly the most moist chicken, but it's certainly not dry. They've maintained at least an adequate level of moisture in the chicken here. You have a nice spicy mayo sauce with a little bit of kick Nice richness to that, providing a nice dimension of flavor to the chicken karaage, which I do think is very welcome here. I wouldn't exactly say that the breading is bland, but I do think it could use a little bit of additional seasoning, but the flavor of the sauce more makes up for that. You know, that's a perfectly fine chicken karaage here. Now the chicken karaage was served alongside some greens. We're gonna give this a try as well. Oh, that's actually very good. A nice fresh spring mix and spinach salad here. Perfectly fine vegetables with a lot of flavor coming from this dressing. It is a very bright dressing, a lot of citrus in here, but it is well balanced by the pungent spice coming from the ginger. A nice amount of garlic in this dressing as well provides some good flavor. This is actually a very solid little salad here. I like this. Next up, the popcorn shrimp. I'm actually genuinely surprised at how much popcorn shrimp you get in an order here. There's a lot on this plate, but while I love quantity, I do need some good quality. The popcorn shrimp. You know, I can't say I'm a big fan of this one. Now, I definitely appreciate that this is made in-house. Very clearly breaded and fried in the back here, and so I commend them for that. Now, unfortunately, there is a lot of breading compared to how much shrimp is in that bite, and while there is a satisfying light crunch to the batter, unfortunately, I'm wanting shrimp here. Towards the middle of the bite, you do get a little bit of that bouncy chew, but unfortunately, the flavor does not come through at all. You're mostly just kind of tasting the batter as well as the sauce. Now, there is a creamy sauce applied to the top of this. It's rich, a little bit sweet, and the cream sauce is very nice here because it counterbalances the spice coming from the mayo that's applied to the rest of the shrimp. There is a nice little kick in the aftertaste when it comes to that sauce, but in general, it just kind of feels like I'm eating fried bread along with some sauces. I would really like some much bigger shrimp in these. All right, my friends, now the last appetizer I'm trying today is gonna be their stuffed jalapeno bomb. A nice big jalapeno here, lightly breaded and covered in what looks like spicy mayo as well as some eel sauce. And I'm a big fan of jalapeno poppers. This is effectively the Japanese version. Let's see how it is. Oh, that's pretty good. Now, while there is a nice breaded layer, unfortunately it doesn't provide a ton of crunch. I think it's mostly there as a membrane to keep the jalapeno together. Now this is a spicy dish. There is a lot of heat here, but interestingly the spice comes in waves. Now it is very present up front, especially when you get the heat from that spicy mayo as well as the initial heat from the jalapeno, but it is cooled down very quickly by that rich cream cheese, and then on the way out with the aftertaste you do get some heat from the spicy tuna here. The sweet and smoky eel sauce definitely provides a little bit of respite from the spice, which is very much needed. In general, I do like this appetizer. However, I think I would appreciate a lot more crunch just because a lot of the textures here are very similar. You have a soft jalapeno, soft cream cheese, soft spicy tuna, and so getting a little bit of additional texture crunch from that exterior would have been very nice. But otherwise, some very good flavors here. This is a good one. All right, my friends, now that's all of the appetizers I'm trying today. Just a couple more bites and I'm gonna box this all up to go, and then we'll go in our first round of entrees. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone. My first round of entrees just got here and this is looking really good. Let me give you a view. I got their tonkatsu ramen as well as their vegetarian ramen, their tomato seafood, as well as their crunch roll. It is all looking really good. Let's give it a try. First off, we'll try the tonkatsu ramen, starting with the broth. A nice opaque broth here. Let's give it a try. Yeah, that's good. A relatively good tonkatsu broth here. It does have a viscous and rich feel. They've been able to render a fair amount of pork fat and pork bone into this broth. And there is a nice umami here as well. And while it's not bad, I will say that the tonkatsu broth does lack a little bit of depth. I think the flavors could be a little bit more concentrated with this broth. It just lacks a bit of complexity compared to the best ramen broths I've had. Generally not bad at all though. It's a solid broth. Now we'll go in on the rest of the ramen. This is the chashu pork as well as the noodles. The tonkatsu ramen. Oh yeah, that's good. I really like the chashu pork here. Succulent and fatty. It provides a little bit more of that depth of flavor that I was looking for just in the broth alone. A pretty good ramen noodle here. Personally, I think I would prefer it to be just a little bit more al dente. The noodles are a bit on the softer side. Not to say they have a bad texture though, it's just a personal preference I think for a harder noodle. In combination though with that chashu pork, along with that extra umami coming from the broth, it does make for an enjoyable bite of ramen. That's absolutely fine, a solid tonkatsu ramen here. Next up, we're gonna try the vegetarian ramen. Now, I'm really happy to say that I started YouTube because it really helps me expand beyond my normal horizons because I've never had a vegetarian ramen before. We'll start again with the broth. Let's see how it is. Oh, that's actually really tasty. A lot of really nice flavors in this vegetable ramen broth. I would say this broth leans toward the sweet side. Not to say there isn't a fair amount of salinity as well as umami, it is still a ramen broth. But just a little bit of a tangy sweetness here provides a lot more depth than the tonkatsu broth. I actually really like this. I wouldn't exactly say this is super thick, it's actually a very thin and opaque broth, but I must say that the flavor of that broth is very enjoyable. A really good start to the vegetable ramen. Now the vegetable ramen is served with some tempura vegetables, and so I have some broccoli as well as the noodles here. Let's give this a shot. It's actually very tasty. I have a similar critique with these noodles that I did with the tonkatsu broth, and so while I would prefer a much more firm noodle, it's not mushy, so it's doing fine. What was mushy though was the breading of that broccoli. Not exactly the greatest texture there, but I think it's understandable given that it's been soaking in broth this whole time. Nothing really wrong with that broccoli either. You have natural flavors coming through just fine. But in addition to this really delicious broth, the flavors do come together very well. I gotta say, I really like this vegetable ramen. Okie doke, last ramen broth I'm gonna be trying today is gonna be the tomato seafood. Don't know if I've ever actually had a tomato seafood ramen before, so I'm really looking forward to this. I imagine this is very similar to a tomato hot pot broth. Let's see how it is. Oh, it's very nice. Easily the most depth of flavor of any of the ramens I've tried here so far. This is a relatively complex broth. I believe it is based off the tonkatsu. I can definitely taste a bit of that umami as well as that pork flavor here. But it's made a little bit sweeter and tangier with the addition of the tomato. You do get an additional briny salinity coming from the seafood into the broth. It's actually very good. There's a nice garlic flavor to this ramen broth, and given that it is based off the tonkatsu, there is a good umami and thick viscous nature to it. A tasty broth, that's my favorite one so far. Alrighty, now we'll do the rest of the ramen. I've got a little bit of clam as well as some shrimp on this. The tomato seafood ramen. Well, it's pretty good. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth in the third time around, but I certainly would like a much more firm noodle here. But that said, the ramen is fine. Now, the shrimp, while it did have a decent texture, unfortunately, it did not impart a lot of flavor in that bite. The majority of the seafood flavor actually came from the clam. The nice ocean briny flavor from that clam definitely was welcome in the ramen, though. It really nailed home that seafood theme. And in addition with that broth, it was all very good. This is a very nice tomato seafood ramen. Alrighty, and the last bite I'm trying from this first round of entrees is going to be the crunch roll. Let's see how it is. You know, I can't say I'm a big fan of this one. We'll start with the good. The rice actually is quite fine here. A good bouncy texture to it. Not too sticky and not gummy. A relatively solid sushi rice. You've got your imitation crab in the center here with the same spicy mayo and eel sauce that we saw prior in something like the jalapeno bomb, and it's all been topped with some tempura crunchies. Now I gotta say, this particular roll is not all that satisfying to eat. A shrimp tempura crunch roll is a standard recipe for a reason. It definitely feels like this particular roll is lacking something, and not just because I want shrimp tempura in there, I would take almost any additional element. The roll is just a little bit too straightforward, a little bit too simple. It really just kind of tastes like you're eating some rice with spicy mayonnaise. Not my favorite sushi roll in the world, unfortunately. All right, everyone, now that's gonna do it for our first round of entrees. Just a couple more bites. I'm gonna box this all up to go, and then we'll go in our second round. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone. My second round of entrees just got here. This is looking really good. Let me give it a view. Now, I got 3 of their different curry plates. One the beef stew, one the chicken katsu, as well as their vegetable. And I had to get the kimchi fried rice as well. Some really good looking rice dishes here. Let's go in. First up, kimchi fried rice. Now, I'm not gonna lie, typically when I see a kimchi fried rice, it has a much redder hue than this. But I do see some flecks of pepper, so I am assuming that the kimchi is in here. Let's see how it is. Yeah, not bad. Now there's definitely a nice texture to this fried rice. A good firm chew to the rice here, and it's not all falling apart, which is really great. You also have bits of chopped up pork in here, providing a little bit of salinity as well as some meatiness, and I would say that's fine. Now I must say the kimchi element here is very faint. Not all too spicy, not even much of that tang. I would really like a lot more of those signature flavors from the kimchi in this fried rice. While there is some good umami here, I do think the fried rice leans a bit salty in general. And overall, I would kind of classify this as a standard fried rice with just a little bit of additional spice. I would almost leave out the kimchi moniker. You know what, it's not a bad fried rice, but I am a little disappointed. I was expecting a lot more from the kimchi there. Now it's time to go in on some curry. We're starting off with the beef stew. I really like the nice big chunks of beef I see here in a relatively thick curry sauce with some rice. The beef curry stew. Yeah, that was actually really good. A very nice curry beef stew here. Firstly, the beef here is really solid. Nice and tender, a soft bite to that, while still imparting a bit of a beefy flavor. It works very well in this curry so far. I like that a lot. You have a very nicely flavored Japanese curry here. I actually really like the curry sauce at Kobashi. Relatively mild, it's not super pungent, but it has a bit of sweetness and a fair amount of umami as well. There is a small element of heat here, but I wouldn't classify this a spicy dish by any means. But this is a really good, savory, slightly sweet curry with a nice amount of umami. It's a solid one. I like the rice here just fine, not too gummy or sticky, and a little bit of a sweet flavor coming from that white rice. Complements the hearty nature of the beef stew curry very well. I do like this dish, this is a good one. Next up, the vegetable curry. Now, while I appreciate the amount of effort that went into making the vegetarian ramen a little bit more creative, the vegetable curry here looks a little bit more lackluster. It just looks like a lot of blanched vegetables in the curry sauce with some rice. And so while I really did like the curry and the rice from the previous dish, I've got a pretty solid idea of what I'm about to taste here. Let's see how it is. Yeah, that's fine. Now, all my previous critiques and comments from the shared elements here are standing. The rice is still great, and a very nice flavor to this curry sauce. The base product here is just good. Unfortunately, because the vegetables are not transformed and they're just blanched, I think even you at home can get a pretty decent idea of what I just tasted. I had some carrots and zucchini on the spoon, and you got a nice natural sweetness from that carrot, and a bit of a refreshing flavor coming from that zucchini, but all in all, it was just a little bit unsatisfying. There was nothing really meaty to chew into or any kind of texture crunch providing variety. I imagine vegetarians will be completely fine with this, but I don't think this is the curry for me. All right, everyone, now the last bite I'm trying from my entrees today is gonna be the chicken katsu curry. Chicken or pork katsu curry is typically my go-to whenever I go to a curry house like this, and this is looking exactly what I want today. Here we go. Oh, that's very good. I'm really glad I saved this one for last because I think this would have set the bar a little bit too high for the others. Everything that I want about a curry dish is present here. Good solid rice, flavorful curry sauce, and a very tasty chicken katsu. Crunchy panko breadcrumbs have been fried to a golden brown, giving a very nice exterior, and you have a tender chicken meat inside. It's very good. The chicken katsu is also well seasoned. Even with the flavors of the curry sauce, you're actually still able to make out the distinct flavors of that chicken katsu. It's a great additional flavor. Giving that extra bit of texture crunch also makes for a much more satisfying bite here. And it's just very good. I would say this is my favorite curry dish of the night for sure. All right, my friends, now that's gonna do it for all of the entrees I'm trying today. Just a couple more bites. I'm gonna box this all up to go, and then we'll try some dessert up next. Don't go anywhere, sweets are coming up. Welcome back, everyone. It's time for some sweets, and I hope you're ready for some dessert. Unfortunately, they don't have a dessert menu that I can show you, but they have a pretty typical lineup here. I believe they have some macarons, some cheesecake, as well as some ice cream and some tiramisu. So I went in with their mochi ice cream today. I believe they mentioned they had green tea, vanilla, and strawberry as flavors. And I was kind of in the mood for a strawberry mochi ice cream today, and I'm definitely ready to go in on some sweets. Let's give this a shot. Yeah, it's very good. Now, 100% this is a store-bought mochi ice cream, but that said, I'm really enjoying this. That mochi skin is really great. A nice spongy glutinous texture to that. It's soft and has a very buttery flavor. The richness of that mochi exterior surprised me quite a bit. You have a bit of a grainy strawberry ice cream in the center, however, it does impart a very nice sweet flavor. The refreshing flavor of strawberry is absolutely present here, and the cool temperatures here is actually a very nice respite from all of the hot foods that I tried today. Yeah, it's store-bought, but it's still good. I like that just fine. All right, everyone, and that's gonna do it for my dinner here at Kobashi Ramen and Curry. My dinner came out to $160 today before tip. Although it does look like they offered me the mochi on the house, that's very appreciated. I think the chicken karaage here is pretty solid, along with that agadashi tofu. Not bad appetizers, those two. Now, when it comes to the ramen, I gotta say the tomato seafood ramen was overall the best. However, I really liked the broth from that vegetarian, but the classic tonkatsu ramen was just fine also. Hands down, my favorite curry dish of the day was the chicken katsu. And in general, I enjoyed my Japanese dinner here. And so if you're staying at the Silverton or you're in the south side of the valley and you're looking for some decent Japanese food, I think you could do pretty well here at Kobashi. All right, my friends, now that's going to do it for this Tuesday video where I check out a local spot here in the Las Vegas Valley. Coming this Saturday, I'm going to be returning to my quest to vlog every restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip as well as downtown. Make sure you come back for that one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I hope you enjoy Vegas with me, Shin. Bye.